Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Chronologically, October 16th. I actually had to put a sweater on today. And before I say anything, I'm with Monica Walls, and what an interesting journey we're going to take, especially if you've ever seen lipstick or like lipstick and bold, resilient, creative, dynamic personalities and creative personalities, and then we're in the right place, folks. But it's funny. I put on a sweater because it's cold. I'm in Jersey. You're out in California, and
Hmm.
it's the first real sweater of the season. And I'm sitting here before you and I just jumped on. I'm sitting here thinking. The older I get, I understand why there's this mass exodus from people in the northeast of Florida. I can understand it because I'm now thinking and saying, I don't like the cold. I mean, I don't. How is it by you?
California has we have some cold and we have some warm, but we do not have the humidity.
Yeah, well, you don't. You could use a
Just
little humidity.
saying.
You could use your humidity. So
Yeah.
enough with my rambling. What an interesting interview we have with Monica Walls, and we have to thank John D'Amore, best-selling author of Divorce Always Sits in the Back, and John and I became really, really great friends. We took a picture up there in my den a few years ago. He actually had to stand on a chair. A true story, Monica. He's short and I ain't. I'm 6'5". So in order to kind of level things off, he had to get on not a chair, it was a hassock. And he climbed on
He
top of it. This tiny guy.
he he did not tell me that.
No, and he wouldn't. And why would he? I would, just to kind of level things off. But anyway, thanks to John for the connection. He made the connection, and here we are. And once I kind of I kind of perused your bio, coming from the corporate world, and Silicon Valley, etc., and then the creativity and the vision to create Kecas Usna. Did I say it right?
Kecas Usna.
Okay, that was close.
It was close.
That's close enough, first time, base.
Yep.
So, an amazing lipstick. We're going to learn all about that and her journey, because you very rarely do folks get insights into the creative journey that someone is taking, which you've taken, and I'm thrilled about that. So, my actually, this has been a California monologue. I sort of modeled it after Johnny Carson. Not really, but he was a hero of mine. So it's funny when I do these monologues and I'm with a millennial, some 20-year-old, even 30-year-old, and I say it's my Johnny Carson monologue. They look who,
Wow.
and it's like Cher slap me in the face and tell me to snap out of it. Come on, Johnny Carson. Anyway, enough. Why don't you, Monica, do a little bit of a background, a little bio, and then we're gonna jump into your journey. Take it away.
Sure. So I left corporate America a little over 3 years ago now, and wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. This was not part of a plan. I didn't sit out and say, okay, I'm going to do HR for X amount of time, and then I have this passion project. Had no idea. Was doing a bit of consulting, thinking about what I wanted to do, and a childhood friend said to me, you've had an idea for lipstick since grad school, and if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. And I went through the whole thing. Oh, I can't do that. I have a mortgage. I don't, I'm a single income me, all the reasons why. And my friend just said, okay, so you can do this. You've done lots of great things and really very fortunate to have that support in my head from my friend and went, okay, so let's get started. So, how do you get started? So, really, my background in HR I thought would help me figure out how to build a lipstick company. Not necessarily so. It's been quite the learning, but it's been so much fun. So much fun.
Okay. Um, right off the bat, where does the name Kecas Usna come from?
You did good that time.
I did.
So, you did. It's perfect. So, Keca was my nickname as a teenager.
Ah,
And Usna is Croatian for lip, and I'm Croatian. So I thought if I'm going to do something personal, something that wasn't planned, let's make it really personal. So how much more personal can it be than my nickname and my lips, right?
Wow.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow. It was so insightful. And by the way, it's such a unique, and that I think contributes because such uniqueness contributes to. I wrote my third book. It's coming out in November. 10 Things I Learned from the Billionaire. I don't know if I mentioned that to you last,
Mm.
but one of the chapters, and I worked for the world's richest Italian for 25 years. Uh, uh, um, he owns Luxottica, LensCrafters, a ton of stuff. Brilliant. I loved every second of it. But one of the many lessons I learned was the area between these two ears, this whole thing. In order to get a message across, you have to repeat it 10 times in order for it to stick.
Mm.
You hear something, you see something, in, out. And but
Hmm.
after like the ninth or tenth time, it kind of gets stuck and it's there and it's a learned thing. So as I'm looking and people are going to see this, it's a beginning, I think, of impressions. That's what it is. It's impressions. You come from corporate world, you know it better than me. What was your biggest inspiration? Was there like a tipping point that you sort of touched on it that you knew this was just time? You kind of mentioned that, but
Hmm.
was there a particular thing that just absolutely, I mean, that's a huge undertaking, what you've done.
Yeah, very, very different. It wasn't. It was just the last couple of companies I worked at. It just wasn't the perfect fit for me. There was some good work there and good people there, but it didn't light me up. It didn't make me wake up going, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this." Right? I loved what I did, and there were so many great moments. But I was looking for something that makes me like today I've been up since 4:30 and not because an alarm went off, but because I was excited, for my first meeting and then my next one and obviously this time with you as well. And I just wanted something that I could really pour my heart and soul into and do it my way, right? Really make sure that my company's functioning with my core values and my business ethics and my vision. I found a whole creative side to myself I never knew existed. Never knew existed.
Funny, it's little similarity here. I never wrote anything in my life before. Nothing. I was a pharmacist. I was a regional manager for an eyeglass company for 25 years. And one day I watched a movie and boom, I watched
Right,
Casablanca and boom, there was a novel.
right.
And then I became a journalist and I had a cable TV. Never knew this stuff was inside me, just like you.
Yeah.
So
You don't
why
know till you try,
you
right?
don't
Like
know?
that's the thing.
And it's a wonderful, it's a gift that we're able to to get it out, to get this
Yes,
energy out, that we know it's there, and to get it out. That's a gift, spiritual gift, whatever.
it
So,
is.
why lipstick?
You know, so I don't wear a lot of makeup. I'm a 5 minute face girl. I need eyeliner, mascara, and lipstick. That's all I need. Thankfully, I'm so fortunate and feel so blessed for that. But my favorite long-lasting lipstick would dry out my lips, and my favorite lip glosses were either sticky, so my hair would stick to it, or they were gone in 10 minutes. So I had a real problem of my own to solve. Most of the time, I was the only woman on the executive team at every company I worked at. So I didn't want to be the only person fussy in a mirror. I worked for startup and growing companies, which meant long hours and sometimes lots of travel. And the number of times I got off an airplane in another country to walk into a meeting, I could not count on both hands. And so you want to be able to look your best and feel your best, and it just helps you with your confidence and all the things that make you feel good about who you are is looking good. I wanted something that was not fussy and not like high maintenance.
Um, what makes Kecas Usna so unique and special?
So this is probably one of my favorite things that people ask me. I think what makes my company really special is that I have taken a very personal approach to everything. I mean, even my background here. Purple's my favorite color. The church in the frame is my favorite church in Zadar at St. Donat. There's a Tigger way back there on the shelf because I collect Tiggers and it's kind of a nod to something, a fun side of me. the fact that I can do what I do and really celebrate my heritage, I do that with the naming of my colors. All of my colors have a Croatian descriptor with an English name. The bulk of my models are people I know, like, and trust. My niece has been my signature brunette since, almost 2 years ago now when I started. And I had a photo shoot a couple weeks ago, and I brought some women from groups that I belong to, like women's groups. I had another photo shoot a few months ago, and I flew 5 women down with me from the Bay Area down to LA to do my photo shoot. And they're my friends, and one of them was a friend of a friend and a distant cousin, and it was fantastic. So I love that I can really, really approach everything with just your everyday woman who's in my life to be involved. And I love that. I feel so blessed and so fortunate that that is part of my brand. And I think I just want to celebrate that in every way possible.
Yeah, in the limited amount of time I've known you, and I've seen um, it again for I'm a guy, and for the undiscerning eye and everything I'm seeing and it's hard to explain, but there's a global feel to your
Hmm.
product by design, which you
Yeah,
just went over that global feel, which opens up, it opens up. It's great business.
it
Beside,
is.
it is just to reach out and to grab and hold on to, the global aspect. Uh, and it's great marketing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Thank
trying to
you.
say. No,
And that was important. I travel quite a bit. I think I've probably been to 40 countries in my lifetime, and all of them have something fantastic to offer. All of them add to our travels and our wonderful memories. And, just the fact that Croatia is, my grandfather was born in this very small island that you could swim around in a couple hours. I just love it. I just love it.
um, I came from the corporate. I came from a pretty rigid corporate world. What was it like going from a rigid corporate world and transitioning and leaving? It's got been leaving a really comfortable 9 to 5 job. I did it because I was retired, but you're not. What was that like? And do you still have vestiges of having worked in the corporate world, and now there's no longings to go back to that. Of course not.
There's no longings to go back to that. There's not. I was never a 9 to 5 though. Like working for a startup and growing companies and at the level I was at meant long hours, but I loved them. I thought it would be easier. I thought, okay, I understand operations, I understand administration, I have HR. I thought it would be a lot simpler than it was. So there were moments of, wait a second, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, I have to learn this too. And so it was good though, right? Learning is a great part of, being who we are. So it's been interesting in so many good ways. So I've probably felt every emotion, excited, frustrated, nervous, happy, you name it. I'm sure I've gone through that in the almost 2 years that I've been in business, but I've not been sorry. There's not one single solitary regret, not one.
Nice, nice, nice. Um, just take a breath now, and sometimes I'd like to go off topic a little
Sure.
bit. And sometimes I model myself after one of my heroes, Barbara Walters. So here's a couple of off-topic questions. Um, it could be one answer, two, three. There's no rules here. It's very informal. So here goes, Monica. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Ooh.
It is an ooh.
Hmm. So, there is one woman, there's so many, but there's one woman whose personal story about her journey really resonates with me. So, Jamie Kern-Lima is the founder of It Cosmetics, and she had a really interesting story. She was doing something to cover up skin issues that she had, so she created foundation. She went to all these people who said, nope, 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 nope. And she kept hearing that and she kept going back and figuring out people telling her she couldn't be the face of her own brand because she wasn't runway ready, if you will. And she didn't take no for an answer and she just kept going. So, really inspirational. So, I would love to spend a day with her to understand what she thinks she did really well, where she thinks she could teach people to do it as well, lessons learned, anything she would do differently. Oh my gosh, I would love to do that.
Great answer. Great answer. You were talking about, it and it's funny, I go to Rutgers basketball for 30 years and I sit sometimes right behind I'm near the court. I sit right behind Bobby Brown, the cosmetic person.
Yep,
Became a billionaire from that and sold it and now started another company.
correct.
And I met her a couple of times, just loosely chatting. So so some of that energy is hanging around me. So the other last off-topic question: do you have like some favorite movies?
Favorite movies. I do actually. So
Yeah.
it's really funny because I tend to like and I'm laughing because most people will say, really? So I tend to like a lot of the older movies. Well, older for me, you're going to say they're not old, but like I love The Italian Job. It's one of my favorite movies. And kind of Robert Redford's age when he was doing Spy Game and Sneakers. Do you remember those?
Well, I remember he did um, 3 Days at the Condor, which scared the living hell out of me, and it should be seen by so many more people. What a great movie! But I'm a big Robert Redford fan,
Yeah.
always. And I
So I
mean,
love those.
his first movie, Barefoot in the Park, that put him on the map with Jane Fonda. That was the thing that launched his career,
Hmm.
and everything just kind of exploded from that. I watched his movie. I'm an old movie person. That's why I asked you that question. I wrote a book because of an old movie.
Yeah.
Um, I watched The Sting uh, often, and
Okay.
each time I watch it, and I say often, I mean often. Whenever I need to smile and to laugh, I put The Sting on because the ending is so improbable. I mean, all of it. But each time it's funny. Each time I watch it, I look for something different.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's one time, I just looked at the costumes. Just at the costumes, the clothing they wore in 1932. I think that's when it was a period piece. It just at the costumes and uh, um, I just like to focus on a different aspect because I have the time. It's nice being retired because I can do all this stuff.
I
So
try to watch movies when I'm flying. My rule is when I fly domestic, I read a book. When I fly international, I watch movies.
same here. Same
Hmm.
here. I, we flew to Italy before the pandemic, and because I have bad knees, I have to sit in first class. It's not a terrible thing, sit in first
Nope.
class, and they have all these movies. So I sat down, and I buckled up, and looked at the movie selection. There was Casablanca, which by then I've seen about 140 times. So I watched Casablanca once, and it's a long flight, and what am I
Yep.
going to do? So I watched it again. So I
There
watched
you
it
go.
2 times, flying over to Italy and coming home first class. Boom, boom. There's Casablanca 2 more times. Maybe I need to see a psychiatrist. I don't know. I don't know. I just keep watching it, and
If
still,
you if you like it, it's good, right? Movies are meant to entertain us. So that's their purpose, right? Is to entertain us. So whatever entertains us. And there's some movies I've seen numerous times and others I'm like, "Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time." And they're great, right? Like The Bucket List I thought was fantastic movie. And then there's
yeah.
some you only need to see them once and you're good, you enjoyed it, but that's it.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct. Exactly. It's
Yep.
just a one and done. Like my son told me to watch a horror movie the other night. No names. It's a new horror movie. I watched it once. Hugh Grant was in it. I like Hugh Grant. Some
Yeah.
really great rom-com stuff. And we discussed it. My son and we discussed it. He works in TV, and I said that's a one and done
Yeah.
thing. Never again. I don't even want to talk about it again. So, okay. some of the biggest challenges, which you touched on a few. Have there been any like significant surprises in starting out that you didn't
Some
expect?
things there's been surprises. So I'm set up to ship from and into other countries, but I didn't know that with Canada, all of my labels had to be in French. I didn't know that. I didn't know. And I'm like, "Oh, I should know this." And then I thought, well, how would I know this unless I go to start, researching what has to happen? So uh, I have a plan for a fix for it, and it'll be done shortly. So it's an easy fix, but that was a pretty big surprise to me.
That is a
Mhm.
surprise.
When I
I know.
first started
Wow.
finding insurance, like product insurance, that was interesting because a lot of insurance agents sent me to someone else who sent me to someone else, so that was like, well, this is not as easy as buying homeowners insurance. Okay. So, right? Little things like that.
A lot. By the way,
Mhm.
I can't even imagine, putting with a product that goes on a human being.
Mhm.
I can't even imagine. I know as I'm publishing, a third book, it never you think you write a book, and you write a book and it gets published. It's years and years. The journey. It's uh, so you get all these, and there's surprises.
Yeah,
Surprise this morning, I'm republishing my tortoise book, and it's 85 emails going back just to do a cover. With
sure.
just and you have to do covers for products, lips.
Hmm.
It's my goodness. Uh, anyway, it's funny. I always dreamed I'm going to be on Jimmy Fallon's show one day, and I'm a successful author, but if I am, and he says, there's 300,000 people who write a book every year and get published. Indies, they're all indies, mostly. Do you have any words of advice to all these hundreds of thousands of people who want to do what you did? And I say, yeah,
Hmm.
I have one word, just one word. Don't.
Don't self-publish.
Don't. Just don't do anything.
Ah.
Don't write. Don't nothing. Don't. Don't do it.
But then you never know, right? You
Well,
can't fail if you don't move forward. You
great.
don't know if you don't try. I had someone tell me that, like, don't let fear be the reason you don't do something. And I was like, okay. And it's true, right? Like as toddlers, think about it. We're not afraid. We come, back from, the playground when, mom or dad or grandma's sitting on the side, full of bruises, little cuts, because we're little daredevils and we're not afraid. And as we get older, we're like, ooh, that's kind of high. Ooh, is that stable? Ooh, that's too far. So we don't even try. So we don't know if we can do it.
Words of wisdom. Wise stuff. Um,
I have moments.
no, wise stuff. Wise stuff, Monica. What does a typical day look like in your world? I mean, you just told me, I don't remember we were on air or we were off air. You got up at 4:30 this morning. Is that what is your typical day like? Is it 4:30 in the morning?
Not every day, no. In all fairness, no. I am a morning person, so that's just what I like. So my days vary, but most days, or I should say every day, I really start with a couple of things that are really important to me. So I have an app that I listen to. It's like a PQ app, so it's a positive intelligence app. So every day I listen to the lesson of the day. It's anywhere from, 3 to 7 minutes. That's how I start my day. It's the first thing I do before I open any email, social media, text, anything. And the next thing I do is I take my cup of coffee and I go outside. I live in a condo. California's pretty, our weather's pretty decent. Even in the dead of winter, you're not going to die if you sit outside for 20 minutes, at least not where I live. And I have cozy blankets and couches, and I take my cup of coffee and I sit outside. And sometimes the sun's already up, and sometimes it's pitch black, and I can sit out there and watch the sun come up. And I feel like that kind of grounds me a bit and lets me set my intentions for what my day is going to be. Sometimes it's back-to-back meetings, other times it's just work, sometimes it's a blend. I have networking events. I was at an event last night, and I was at one the day before that. So it just kind of depends on what's going on. And then there is lots of travel. I travel to different places to do expos and pop-ups or speak at conferences and all of those things just to help with the visibility of my brand. And so I do them very lovingly and feel really glad that they're there. So I don't really ever have two exact days that are the same, which is kind of nice. I actually have to say I like that.
That's great. By the way,
Mhm.
that in and itself is an energizer because everything is unique and different, and there's no
Mhm.
ruts necessarily to fall into.
Correct.
Just listening to you and marveling at you and your journey and how put together you are. This is really off topic. But did
Uh-oh.
you ever think about we live in the age of Zoom, obviously, and do you ever think about lecturing to like a business school on startup and journey? I'm just throwing that out.
No, actually, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I speak at conferences because somebody asked me to one time, and I was so touched by the response I got from the women. I did it was like a ladies' tea, and there was a couple speakers, and I was one of them. And I was really touched by how women came up to me after and said, "Thank you for sharing your story." And one person said, "Okay, I'm ready to start my business. If you can do it, I can do it too." And I thought, oh my God, like I was so touched. I mean, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it with you now because that was never part of what I thought I was doing. But no, I hadn't thought about a school. I feel
Oh,
like I have
good.
so much more to do with my business.
Well, of course you do, but jumping on a Zoom for 40 minutes like this, the only reason why I asked, because hey, I've been marveling at your journey, and I have been, and I know, when I taught at Rutgers a few years ago,
Hmm.
I taught career explorations,
Yeah.
networking, and I learned a lot about that, and I've got a great, I got a large, and now I'm mentoring a student. Every year I
Oh,
mentor.
nice.
Yeah, so here's where I'm going with that. And this is so off topic, but we could talk about it off, but I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Uh, so I'm mentoring a student, and usually and I've been mentoring students for years, and I love that. Actually, before the pandemic, the kids find out you can talk and communicate. I was mentoring 14 kids, and I was literally living at Henry's Diner on campus, every
Wow.
2 or 3 hours, but I loved it. But it was all communication and media. But now I'm mentoring a student. They gave me a student who's a sophomore and who's part of Future Business Leaders of America. She's studying business stuff. So
Fantastic.
if it's something floating around and you think, you'd like to just answer some questions and stuff,
Sure.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But that was just so off topic.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. And I'm always happy to do that. I like it's funny because you said that it wasn't part of what we were going to
Not
plan.
at
So I
all.
love your off-topic things because it
Not at
takes us in
all.
a great direction. But I spend a lot of time networking. And I have to say, networking as an HR executive is very different than as a business owner. And I'm impressed almost on a daily, but certainly on a regular basis with all these women that I meet who are trying to do their best at their business. And at the same time, they're genuinely supportive of the woman standing next to them. So they help each other raise higher, they help each other climb taller, like all of the things. I mean, the event that I was at last night, there was some women that I knew and some that I hadn't met before, and everybody's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And then it's not just, "Oh, thanks, let me have your business card." It's like, "Oh, I know someone who I can refer you to." I met a woman who is not a tech savvy person. She doesn't have any social media. What she does would be great on social media. There were three of us standing with her saying, "Okay, you could do this and you could do this." And she doesn't want to do it. And we're telling her how you can outsource and find a trusted person. Well, what about a website? So she showed us her website and told us, what she's doing. And we all just jumped in with, "Oh my gosh, you can do this." And she was so appreciative. And nobody is trying to do anything other than be helpful. So I think networking and meeting people and talking to people is fantastic because you never know who you're going to impact, who you're going to help, who you're going to support, and where that connection is going to come from. Like, look how we met, right? It was from John.
Right. I mean,
And somebody that I know through a different program introduced me to John.
See, it's a wonderful,
Hmm.
wonderful tool in our
Correct.
world, which is getting better. It's the Zoom thing is wonderful, and it opens up. Hey,
Yeah.
I zoomed yesterday in the south of France, uh,
Yeah.
just just like we're talking.
Well, and the thing is I think the world is in a place now where we all are wanting genuine and real connections, whether it's Zoom or sitting next to each other or across the table or whatever it is. But I feel like more and more people are being very transparent and very communicative about who they are and who they want in their life and who's in their close, middle, and farther circle, but still in their world. And I love that people are being incredibly inclusive and very descriptive about what they need as well.
Um, what advice would you tell your younger self? What piece of advice would you give your younger self, knowing where you are, where you came from, and maybe things that would make things smoother or quicker?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was younger, I had an idea of what my life would look like, and it looks nothing like that in any way, shape, or form. So I think, which is totally okay. That's what it's meant to be. So I think I would go back and just say, you don't have to have it all figured out. That life has a way of working itself out when you do the work. And, sometimes you get to a fork in the road and you think you want to go left and really you should go right. But it's okay because that road will lead you to another place that'll eventually take you to that place on the right. And so I think we need to allow ourselves it's okay to fall down. This is how you get up. And I think I like think back to when I was 15, I thought, okay, I'll be married by this time. And I literally thought I would have one child and adopt one child. I have no children. I've never been married. But I love my life and I'm surrounded by amazing people who contribute to it. So I think, at least in my generation, I won't say how old I am exactly, but in my generation, that was kind of what you did, right? You got married, you had kids, you may or may not have gone to college, and, so it was really different.
Okay. Not that I can almost answer this listening to you, but and even if we touched on some of this, it's always good to repeat. What advice would you give to a woman who's afraid? Because that take,
Yeah.
by the way, my analogy to listening to you, who's afraid to take that next step, listening to you, it's akin to a rocket ship. When
Hmm.
a rocket ship is being launched, to lift that rocket ship 6 inches off
Hmm.
the launch pad requires the most amount of energy.
Correct.
And as you're moving further and further, and your speed is increasing, but it's less. You got to lift that thing up, and it's the
Right.
same thing with you, Monica. To
Yeah.
start this, it's a tremendous liftoff. So, do you have any kind of special advice?
Yeah, I think for anybody trying to, or thinking about, I shouldn't say trying, anybody thinking about, launching their own business or doing something different, don't be afraid. Start wherever that start is. Don't wait for the perfect day of the month with the right, just start somewhere. You can go back. Same like when you write a book. You don't always start with the very first chapter. Sometimes you go back and you start, and you fill in from the front side. So it's kind of that same thing. And don't be afraid to ask people for your support, right? Or for their support for you. And I do that. I have people who ship for me from England into the UK and from Spain into the EU. And I have friends in the US that, do things for me, girlfriends who show up to work expos with me because I can't work an expo by myself for 2 days. And just ask, you'd be surprised. You have a really good community before you even realize how many people you have, and you build your own, supportive community or village, if you will.
Do you have you came from, tech and stuff and big business. Do you have any particular way of like running a company? Is there any unique things that you like to do that you've learned and now you can do it in your own world?
Yeah, I mean, the things that are most important to me is around transparency and communication. So whoever I'm hiring to work with me, like I don't have any employees, but I have people who do things, right? So they're, either contractors or partners. And we're really clear about our intentionality about what we're approaching. So if it's, a website design or if it's a social media campaign or an article or a blog on LinkedIn, like we all know what we're striving for. There's no questions about what's for sale, if you will. The only thing for sale are my products. There's nothing else that's for sale here. And so it's important that for me, as I use my HR analogies, but, I need to look a judge in the face. And I don't publish anything I wouldn't share with, my grandmother or a boss when I had one, and those things are really just important. Just be true to who you are, and the rest of it is comes easier. If you start having to squint when you're looking in the mirror, there's going to be days where it might be really hard to get up.
As we wind down, um, as we wind down, have you been to, you're from Croatia, and I'm going to ask you if you've been to Croatia. And the other thing I said, I think before we went on air, is one of my favorite tennis players was from Croatia.
Hmm.
So I know
Yes.
Goran Ivanisevic. We talked about that. Have you been to Croatia?
I have. So, my grandfather wanted to take me when I was little, but I think for my parents it was tough for them to like just see a 12-year-old me go off for the summer and not come back. So the first time I went, I was in my 30s, was the first time I went to Croatia. So I've been a few times. My most recent trip was just this past summer. A group of us went in May. It was probably one of the best trips. And I think I've taken 4 or 5 international trips this year, and I think that was one of the best. It was really special to share it with my cousins and some friends. My niece was doing a semester abroad in Madrid, so I brought her over for 5 days.
Nice.
It was really, truly fantastic. There was something almost magical about being there. And, I was taking pictures of my products. My cousins were laughing at me. I'm literally in the ocean holding products over my head, swimming over to a rock because I wanted this one product shot. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, it looks really good over there. I want to take my boxes and not get them wet to take pictures." And it was just so much fun. There was something just really lovely and felt almost full circle. My grandfather, he died when I was 17 and I was the first granddaughter. And so that we had a little bit of a special bond. And I don't know, I feel like I'm like doing him proud from here now. It is really special for me.
You are. Last thing, and that's listening to you about that is very moving to go, to go home. I'm a Jersey guy, and there is no place. But I'm looking at a picture of my grandfather, who I'm close with. I never met him. He came from
Mm,
Russia. Um, uh,
yeah.
and if I had the time and the wherewithal and everything, I'd find that little town where he's from, and I'd maybe go visit it if times were better. Whatever.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
what is the best part of everything you do? Is there one thing that you like best out of all this stuff?
Well, one thing I like best. I think I just like that I get to create. I never thought of myself as a creator, and I like that I get to create. I get excited on photo shoots when I'm standing behind my camera guy saying, "Oh, no, do this," right? And he's fantastic.
I gotta hold
Oh,
that
there
up.
you go. Yeah, the be bold, be you.
I have to hold that
Exactly.
up. I almost forgot. I wanted people
Yeah,
to see this.
yeah. And
Uh,
and I believe that, right? We should be bold, like we should be ourselves, we should be
yeah.
confident, all those things. And I I never thought this is what I would be doing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And you don't know, I don't know, but I do believe we emanate energies.
Hmm.
There are energies and things that we don't know and we don't understand, and there's spiritual intonations and inclinations and stuff. So, the energy, the drive, and all that spirit, the creativity, all of that, and I can feel it in you. The energy, emanates. I'm no spiritualist that way, but it you radiate that energy,
Thank you.
growth of what you're doing, and it's special. And these are it's hard to qualify or quantify, but it's something. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm taking some notes listening to you. No, really. I bill myself as the only interviewer probably in world history who takes notes while he's interviewing somebody. So if you see me going down like that, that's because I was writing. So I'm a
It's
big
great.
keeper. It is good. It is
I
good.
love it.
So, um, we're done. This has really been great.
Thank you.
Sometimes you don't know what to expect, but this was uplifting, and engaging, and you can hold on to the words of wisdom and the energy and the spirit. This was good stuff, Monica. Uh,
Thank you so much.
yeah,
It's been a lot of fun. I love our conversations.
yeah, but and I like when it just drifts because it's good to drift. So, I'm formally inviting you to come back, and who knows in what shape, way, or form. I'll be kind of watching, and please do come back. But this was great, and don't leave because I'm just going to stop recording. We'll do a 2-minute wrap. Thank you,
Okay.
Michael.
Thank you. Thank you.